All right, welcome to the Legendary Upside YouTube channel. Here with Sackreligious and Shady Advice, we're going to be live sweating the 555 that Shady has, going and drafting some playoff best ball teams. It's been a little bit for me drafting playoff best ball. I've taken a little bit of a break doing some traveling, but decided to jump back in the playoff best ball streets. But first, guys, how you doing?
Doing well. Not the week 17 we all wanted, I'm sure, but it's
it could have been worse. It could have been worse.
Yeah, I'm doing well. All 9 of my bullets have since crapped out. If I really was big into ending the slate after the Saturday games, I was sitting pretty well after those. But you know what? Just happy to get 9 into the finals. It was above expectation for how many teams I drafted. So we'll take
nice.
it. Yeah, after how the season started, 9 final shots. We'll take it.
Yeah. So Shady, tell us about your sweat tonight. I know it's a little bit optimistic, but
I'm pretty sure I just saw Kittle catch a pass, and so if he scores more than 2 points, I'm fully blocked from first.
Okay.
So that the guy, I have Gibbs going, and anything above like 8.9, he scores for me. And so we're just trying to climb the ladder a little bit at this point.
Yeah. So you are currently in 14th, and we're looking at so you're passing Brian Robinson. Gibbs, yeah, anything after 8.9, Gibbs starts counting, and you have to make up quite 60
lot.
points or so.
Yeah.
One might say a lot.
Yeah.
But
Gibbs climb for some extra cash here. That'll be good.
Right. And what's the payout for this? Okay, so $1 million, then 509, 600, 300,000, 150. So I mean, we do like 30 points. It makes a big difference. Right now, payout of 15,000. So, I mean, Kyle Dvorak, who I didn't even ever heard of that guy. What are we? We should get Kyle on here actually. He's in 5th. I didn't realize he's all the way up in 5th. That's pretty sick. So what's he looking at?
Yeah, his most likely finish is probably 6th. He and I were kind of looking at how he stood last night. So, but I think that his most likely outcome 6th, with 5th and 7th being close behind in his probability of finishing there. His problem is that Sam Laporta, he really needs a Sam Laporta like needle thread. He either needs him to like not score very many at all or go super nuke, because he's got a guy right on his tail with Laporta replacing only a 4.1. So that's kind of the tricky part for him.
I see. Okay.
I didn't even realize until yesterday night that I had Zach Ertz on the team, which was a fun surprise. I was obviously hoping for Brian Robinson to do a little better, but that was a nice little bonus.
Yeah. Yeah, you also had, what was the other? There was, okay, so, Kyle had T. That was nice.
I had AJ Brown was the other one yesterday. It would have been nice if he had gotten all those
I know.
touchdowns instead.
Pickett said after the game that, his eyesight's so poor, he was trying to AJ Brown the whole time.
Yeah, it was just a tough lineup where all my chalk pieces were the ones that did well and my non-chalk didn't. So it was going to be hard to really pass anybody at this point, or last night.
I do take a little happiness in seeing Mark Andrews hit the lineup, even on a Bowers team.
Yeah, that was surprising. I thought with him and Bowers in there, that was pretty happy with the 2 tight end scores, but Ertz knocking Bowers out of there is kind of funny.
The Bowers not having a fantastic game was particularly sad for me yesterday. On all my best stuff, I really could have used a big Bowers game, especially on FFPC where it was tight end premium. Definitely thought there was a path to him getting there, but it didn't happen. But that's okay. That's what playoff best ball is for.
For Bowers?
No. For us to win it all back.
Yeah, so we're going to be drafting some playoff basketball teams here. as well. Should we fire that up, or how do you guys want to do?
Yeah, I think just fire it up here. I've got the game on the side, so if we see anything good happening, that's good for Shady. We can shout it out. But
all right, cool. All right, I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna jump in the DK one. So I kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on that first.
DK has been awesome. I've gotten multiple Gibbs, Goff, Amon-Ra teams today there. So it's really good right now. I'm personally not doing the Lions don't get the bye builds on DK because it is 1 of 6 advance. And so I'm like, you know what? If I take a second quarterback and some other advance rate pieces, like I'm fine just getting a supercharged advance rate, on the Lions teams. The one that I do think, or the way that I think you do play the ambiguity between the Lions and Vikings bye is you start doing some Vikings get the bye teams, because that way you're not leaning into like the higher variance thing of like, oh, I'm going to play a bunch of like solo Goff teams and then you nuke all of those. I'm just going to play some safer Vikings teams where a lot of other Vikings teams that have already been drafted are probably dead if they get the bye. And so I think you kind of get the best of both worlds there, where you get to play it a little bit safer and boost your advance rate. And then if things do break in the way where the Vikings get the bye, you're in a pretty good spot there. So that's kind of the way I'm doing the bye week ambiguity there.
Yeah, I mean, have you tried to build any like Lions Vikings kind of combo teams, and you're sort of assuring yourself?
Yeah, on DK it falls pretty nice to where you can start. You can do Aaron Jones in the 4th pretty well. So if you have Gibbs, you can basically assure that you get one of Gibbs or Aaron Jones as your round 1 running back. So that does fall pretty nice. You can also do the same thing with the tight ends there. Their ADPs line up to where you could do like a Laporta and Hawkinson. I think the playing like the Vikings get the bye is a decent edge to exploit right now. But the thing I've been doing a lot is I'm just trying to get a lot of Lamar right now and play him with Lions, play him with Vikings. I'll do Packers still. I feel like everyone just has decided that the Packers are frauds and that they can't actually make a run. But I mean, they lost by 3 points and 2 points to the teams that would be the most likely to knock them out of the playoffs. So I kind of think that, there's a chance that an oblong ball could bounce in a way that the Packers are the ones going to the Super Bowl. And the fact that you can get literally every Packer is pretty nice.
That is very nice.
So,
yeah, and they but the problem with the Packers, don't they now look likely to be the 7 seed?
Yeah, I can pull that up here. Give me 1 second.
This is displaying oddly for me. Okay, I need to just make it bigger.
So yeah, Packers do look like their most likely outcome is the 7 seed, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, you could technically get a Commanders loss and Packers win next week. They'll be duking it out. They'll be duking it out for the 7 seed. So.
And does the NFL redo seeding each round of the playoffs after?
Yeah. They reseed. So that's the. If the Packers are the 7, they'll just definitely play the Eagles.
Yeah.
Or I guess it would just be the Eagles. Yeah, they're locked in.
And then if they won,
which is a bummer. If they win, then they would go play the Vikings or the Lions.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So they have a rough road if that's the case. And they would be locked out of a home game for sure. We have a guy asking Zach if you're if you're sponsored by Underdog with your entries. Are you? I don't think that's a thing. But,
No, yeah, if someone wants to,
it was Davis, right? Davis
sure.
got his payment.
Did he get it? Okay.
Yeah, in Underdog dollars.
I think it's impressive how you approach it without seeming concerned about a negative ROI.
Oh, I mean, so I'm either going to lose like a couple $1,000 this year or be very slightly profitable depending on how this game breaks out. So yeah,
The Davis thing's a bit, I guess.
I got enough teams in the finals to where even with the finals going poorly for me, I'm going to cash enough that it should be okay for best ball this year.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the stuff with the best ball is that what seems like safe stuff is often really, really negative EV stuff. You know, like you have to embrace the fact that you have to make money in the final. You have to get to the final and then do well in the final. And if you're not planning to do that, then it's just not the right game because that's where all the money is. So, like, if you're playing to eke into the final, like, so what have you accomplished? You know?
Yeah.
So you're taking on risk in some spots, which seems risky, but that's the game we're playing.
Yeah, I basically got double my expectation into the finals, and so that's a pretty decent way to not have your season be catastrophic.
Yeah. So, all right. So Jahmyr Gibbs is pretty fun here.
I think you do the Gibbs Amon-Ra because you're pretty likely to get Goff all the way back. Most people will not take Goff without those guys on the board, and this sets up to be a really, really fun one. I've been in rooms with this guy Josh Shannon today, and he hasn't like done anything like I wouldn't expect him to take a Goff after we take Amon-Ra.
Yep.
And then Mac Nova, I recognize as a ship chaser. I wouldn't expect him to do anything weird. So we can feel good that half the room is going to be reasonable.
Mac Nova also has Hurts, so
yeah.
Because you don't want to necessarily, getting locked out at quarterback is not fun. Although, I mean, Darnold at this point's a very reasonable sixth guy. So the sidekick pushed us to Mahomes there, but Amon-Ra was second. A little safer to get the quarterback, but I do like pushing it.
Yeah, some of the way that it's going to react in these first two rounds when not all the quarterbacks have gone, but a bunch of them have gone, is it's going to just tell you to do the safe thing. It's like, oh, dude, don't get locked out at quarterback. But that's a spot where I'll commonly override it, and I'm willing to just read the room and say, yeah, if I don't get Goff or Mahomes here, I'm pretty sad. But I think it's pretty unlikely someone takes Goff from me. And I think that this team is so strong. If you get Goff, Gibbs, Amon-Ra, like it was very hard to get earlier. For some reason now it's becoming easier to get. And I don't really think that it should be easier to get, but I'm hammering it while I can. Things are so fickle with ADP in playoff basketball and how the room behaves that you get a combo and you're like, oh, I get it all the time now. Goff, Amon-Ra, Gibbs, like who cares? And then, a couple days later and it's entirely unattainable. And right. You think like, oh, nothing could ever change. Like it's always been this way. And then it changes. So it's just something to don't be overconfident in like what combos will or won't be available later. It's one of the big reasons we have consistently preached, just spread your entries out over the life cycle of the contest.
Yeah. For people joining, we've got Shady with a 555. He needs Jahmyr Gibbs to go nuclear. But even a mini nuke would be quite nice in terms of moving him up. But yeah, now we're drafting with the sidekick over on DraftKings. You can check out the sidekick in the description of the video. We lose Goff, we lose Mahomes.
Yeah, that's pretty bad for us. So here, there's a couple things. I personally don't mind playing this as Chargers Super Bowl then. So we can, but I'm not super into getting a ton more Lions. So I would want to do something like Aaron Jones here. To ensure that we have the round one running back between either Gibbs or Jones.
I like that a lot.
Chargers just feel like really mispriced to me. And then the sidekick's going to be a little wonky here because it's, like, oh, well, you definitely need one of these tight ends. I think that we're likely going to want to have Laporta be our tight end. So I think we can kind of pass on him, or we can just take him here.
You could just take Darnold.
Oh, I would not do Darnold.
We got
Andrews fine. Andrews fine. You can play Andrews as your round 1 tight end here. The reason that you would either like reaching for Laporta is okay here. You're going to run into a spot where you're like in a kind of weird situation for your round 1 tight end then. So I don't hate Andrews as like the round 1 advanced piece tight end.
Yeah.
We definitely should plan on, because I think that the clearest path here is going to be Chargers Super Bowl to like have a team that could advance. I mean, it could be Texans too. I just think the Chargers are a lot better than the Texans. But the reason I would have considered just doing a Laporta reach there is because the tight end situation for the Chargers in the Super Bowl, like I'd feel a lot better about having Laporta there. But it's not the end of the world if we have to play it as Disley.
Yeah. Now, why wouldn't you go Darnold? It gives us like a
safe. Yeah, Addison was already gone. Justin Jefferson's already gone. You're like drawing 100% dead in the finals, and I don't think we don't need to do that. We could do that if it won't ever really be a situation where you would do that with Darnold. That's like the kind of thing that I do with like CJ Stroud, or like later when you're later in the draft and you get blown up. Like specifically the times where that'll happen to me is like when I'm pushing Packers, because the Packers all go pretty late. And so you can get a bunch of really, really strong pieces from strong AFC teams early, and then just push the Packers and get really greedy. But every once in a while, someone will just randomly take, Jordan Love as their second or third quarterback or something silly.
Sorry, Shady, we got a rushing touchdown here by Jameson Williams.
That is the wrong human.
That's the wrong human. All right, so McConkey's gone. Thoughts on pivots?
Yeah, now you're you're either doing Houston or you're doing Pittsburgh. It's whichever one you prefer, but Houston you don't have Nico. So I think that you're supposed to do Pittsburgh here.
Gross.
Yeah. And so now I'm like to the point where I'm just like, screw you guys, I'm gonna advance this team. So I'm good doing like a Mike Evans here.
Not Hawk. We're betting on the Vikings to make a run.
We're gonna have Freiermuth later. We don't need Hawkinson really.
Okay. So on DraftKings, if people are used to underdog, it's 1 of 6 advance, and so advancing becomes much more of a focus. Another big change would be that there's a tight end. That makes drafts 2 rounds longer because you got 6 starting roster spots instead of 5. And then things are a little wild, I would say, on DraftKings, which we have felt in this room. Had to pivot like every round, it feels like. Being on the end can be tough sometimes. So let's look at some of these other teams. We got Mahomes, Allen, Mahomes, Flowers, Worthy, Kyron. Not seeing it. Not seeing the vision. Lamar, Cook, Puka, Laporta, McLaurin, Mixon.
Okay.
Hurts, Brown, Smith, Kelsey.
That's a good team.
Kincaid. That's a good team.
That's a really good team. Now he gets to do the like punt running backs, and all 3 of those teams have really good punt running backs. Yeah. I mean,
he needs an advance rate running back.
Yeah, I mean those are a dime a dozen though. Now with the playoffs a lot more clear, he's got Dobbins, he's got Brian Robinson. Those ones are both ones that are available late that I really like. I think Jaylen Warren is even pretty interesting. He's starting to. I mean, it finally looks like he's getting a larger share of the backfield.
Just in time for. Oh wait, hang on.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
little late. Yeah, McNoma's team's pretty sweet. All right, Barkley, Jacobs, Goff, Williams, McConkey, Daniels. Is Love gone? I'm surprised he went Daniels instead of pushing Love. Irving.
I don't think he
Now
knows.
we're
He doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll end up probably ultimately taking. I mean, I think you just go Freiermuth here. Actually, we're probably just going to slam. We're just going to slam all the Steelers here because that's. I think we have enough advance rate pieces. So
I think we take Russ at this point. I'm sick of.
Yeah, just to not get the team blown up.
Yeah.
The other thing you can do is Montgomery if you're trying to play for more Super Bowl equity, but then we'll have quite a few running backs. I actually think Tim Patrick's pretty good here. We should be fine.
Yeah, I like Tim Patrick a lot. And then, because we have the Lions piece.
Let's do Patrick. Almost no one takes Russ, man. I haven't even seen Russ go in lots of drafts today. So
yeah. I mean, it's
so now we'll be Jalen Warren. Now we're Russ, Jalen Warren, Calvin Austin.
There's a reason no one takes Russ at this point. They at one point look like a good bet in terms of their ability to get to the Super Bowl or their ability to get the conference championship game. I would say I was always very skeptical of their ability to actually get to the Super Bowl, but they're what are they going to be? This 5 seed, 6 seed?
Yeah, they're the 5 seed, and they play the Texans. So like that seems pretty good, definitely seems like they're very live to play 2 games.
I think the Chargers are still live for the 5 though.
The Chargers are technically live for the 5. Yes. I believe that the Steelers have a higher probability of the 5 though. Based on
that's right.
Stuff. But yeah, if you say Steelers get Texans, and then after that, it's you could have them face the Bills, but you could have them face the Chiefs. The Steelers actually pair pretty well with Ravens stuff, and so a lot of my Ravens teams, what I'll do is Pickens will be there in the last round, often on underdog, and so I've been heavy Ravens lately. And so I'll just have Ravens and try and get all the good Ravens pieces. And then occasionally I will do something like instead of Nelson Aguilar, I'm going to take George Pickens here just to help me advance. Because hypothetically, what if the Ravens have a bad scoring game in the first round and Ravens stuff was really hard to advance and Pickens helps? And so then you still have a chance for those two to meet in the conference championship, albeit pretty thin.
Right.
The one that I have been shying away from now is Ravens Chargers. Ravens Chargers is much worse pairing them together because there's a decent chance those two face each other
in round 2.
In round 2, yeah.
And
I have a good amount of Ravens Chargers just because I liked the Chargers a lot earlier, and when the seeding was more ambiguous. There was a chance that they wouldn't face each other, and you'd have to get like a Chargers upset against the Chiefs or Bills or something in the second round. But anyway.
All right, so it looked like are we Warren over Najee now? Finally,
I am, yeah, especially on full PPR.
Yeah,
and I
think we grab Russ, right?
Yeah, you just double tap.
Yeah. Grab Russ and then grab Warren.
Yep.
I'll throw Najee in later, but
yeah, I think you do, because the other thing you could do if you're like trying to boost advance rate here is you could just throw on a random Rachaad White. But I think Najee and Rachaad White are similar enough. We play for the one that would be helping us in the Super Bowl. But
Najee, I think went the one after, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine, because I think Jalen McMillan and Calvin Austin are our 2 clear best picks here. So I do agree with the sidekick here.
Yeah, and Cade Otton is also kind of interesting.
I think we're pretty strong at tight end with Freiermuth and
Yeah, we are. Yeah, that's true.
I think that Scroll down a little bit because I think we have another good Detroit piece. Khalif Raymond, I think, is a pretty good pick right now. He's like almost certainly back for the playoffs. And again, like if we're in a Super Bowl that happens to be Steelers Lions, not a lot of people will have built for it. So having these extra dart throw pieces can be worth a lot there, on the off chance that he would outscore one of our other pieces.
I like it. And there's Kittle. Sorry, Shady.
Unfortunate.
Now, I do have Kittle in a dynasty league. I stand to win, maybe even a couple $100 there.
Hundreds of dollars.
Hundreds of dollars. Not that many hundreds. It's only a couple hundreds, I think. But yeah.
we have a good question in the chat from
consolation prize
from Four Face.
Go ahead.
So he says, new to playoff best ball, or does playoff best ball have a suggested drafting positional breakdown like in season long? Yes,
we're on the clock, and
it's these two guys. Yeah, John McMillan and Calvin Austin.
Not Khalif.
Yeah, we don't need Khalif here. If one of those other two guys had gone, then you go Khalif. But I think, given how thin this Super Bowl outcome is, and the fact that we're already set for it, I think you lean into the advance rate stuff here, and you try to mitigate the bleeding on those types of entries. But yes, the positional breakdown, I wrote about it at length in the Sackreligious Guide to Playoff Best Ball. There's lots of good charts there that explain roster combinatorics, and not just like what you should be drafting, but why certain roster constructions work, and how they change as you go through the playoff rounds, which is really pretty important. A lot of people, I think, are undervaluing like what actually happens to your team over the course of this tournament. And that stuff does matter quite a bit. So would recommend checking that article out. Is that one behind the paywall, Pat, or is that free?
I'll make it free if it's not at this point.
We're just giving all the edge away.
About to be free. I don't know. Maybe I won't make it free.
I don't think we make that one free. Yeah.
It's $10 a month. Sign up. Just sign up.
To be perfectly honest, that article's worth, like, if you were going to draft a bunch of playoff best ball and like this is the only thing you were going to have, like, and you drafted for multiple seasons, like it's worth hundreds of dollars. Like that is not to toot my own horn, but it's the definitive piece on playoff best ball. Like it's
not to toot your own horn.
Sorry, like I did a bunch of work on it. It's right. Like it's a good piece.
Late to the stream. What are we sweating? We got Shady's 555 team. Was in 14th, I believe. Still is. It's in 15th now. But we need the
wrong direction.
Gibbs nuke. Yeah. The wrong direction. So it's we also have friend of the pod, Kyle Dvorak, LegUp contributor, rankings contributor. He's in 5th right now, so that's nice to see too. But yeah, Shady needs Jahmyr Gibbs, lots and lots of Jahmyr Gibbs. Less Jamison Williams at the goal line would be nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can do another playoff best ball here. Maybe hop over on Underdog.
Yeah, I do think that, Zach, the stuff you were trying to do and we've been doing during the day on DraftKings is going to be just very hard to do at night. Like any of the pushing stuff, once you get this time of the day on DraftKings, you're just, who knows what's going to happen on there. This is probably the time of day for your safe teams where you try to push it with some smarter teams earlier in the day.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It definitely gets pretty wild on DraftKings. I was getting a ton of Gibbs, Amon-Ra, Goff on Underdog today too. Like,
yeah,
it's been a good. I'm really worried that that's going to go away. So I'm trying to hammer it while I can. But
I knew there's a reason I hadn't drafted any Underdog teams, and it's because I'm in Delaware. That's not. DK's good here, but if you, Sack, do you want to try to stream the Underdog, or we can do another DK too? Would be the
yeah, sure. I'll give me 1 second. Let me get it pulled up here.
I'll jump in one more DK and then we'll get the. I think Juszczyk just scored a touchdown. That's
unfortunate. I feel like on every 49ers showdown slate, I've played Kyle Juszczyk, except for this one.
oh no. I jumped in a DK, so but then we can do an underdog after that. Underdog may be legal in the wedge, although I think that's been incorporated into Delaware now, so I guess it would not.
We're getting way in the weeds if we're discussing the geographical nuances of which platform is or is not legal.
All right.
Got a 6
So
again.
we're
That's
getting-
unfortunate.
Oh, you
Getting some
don't like the
discussion
6 on DK?
celebrity. I didn't like it at all in that last one. Who's Ben Hibbard? We got some sacrilegious celebrity comps.
I don't know if that's a compliment or not. I'm
don't
rapidly
know.
Googling Ben Hibbard.
And Devin Davis says more Paul Dano, to which Boopy agrees.
Oh, okay. The death cap for cutie guy. I mean,
Oh,
we'll take it. Sure.
we'll take it.
Oh,
Hey, that's not bad.
married Zoe Deschanel. I mean, yeah, sure. We'll take that.
Ben Gibbard. Yeah, I was not familiar with Ben Hibbard.
You think?
Yeah, I would think.
Another little mitten. Yeah. Yes. They'll have more.
I think we get another little mitten. Yeah. Any suggestions for Dr. Evil here?
I was pretty sure Sion Vaki might get steamed, so I kind of came in for all the Lions like secondary running backs like Jamar Jefferson, Craig Reynolds, Sion Vaki. I slammed the other two and came in underweight on Sion Vaki. But what I had him at in my ownership, but I'll have to take.
Has he done anything? I haven't seen if he's touched the ball or not.
I have not seen anything. I'm only half paying attention to the game on the side here, though.
All right, we're off to the races here.
So why don't you like the 6 on DraftKings, Shady?
It depends on time of day because you get. It's like it's very tempting to push because it's realistic to get it, but you get burnt a lot. Whereas the tree on underdog or the game tree on underdog is much simpler there because you're just like trying to get it, and if you get lucky, you don't. Because I think you still do Gibbs Amon Ra sometimes from like the 4 or the 5, and then you get Gibbs back all the time, and that's like.
Oh, we might get to do my favorite thing though here, depending on what F Gutta does, or one of my favorite things. I'm interested to hear if you guys think this is fish or not.
Looks like we might have an auto draft there.
Okay, so to me, I really like doing Derrick Henry and Justin Jefferson from this spot. And then you get all of the Ravens and Vikings sans Lamar, and you're just playing it as a Henry nuke. And yeah, that's
okay. I'll follow your lead here. That's interesting.
It works. It works quite well with how all the ADPs fall. And once you've taken Jefferson off the board, a lot of the people just surrender Vikings to you normally, because you're going to be able to get Aaron Jones when it comes back to us here. He's like almost never gone before the 3-4 on DK. And then you have very strong round 1 tight end outs with Hawkinson and Andrews. And you have an emergency, break glass in case of emergency out with Isaiah Likely later. It's just, it fits very nice. And it's a high probability Super Bowl matchup. And I know we were discussing behind the scenes that we thought, we might be a little hot on Green Bay right now, that we might have that get adjusted tomorrow. And if we do think that we're hot on Green Bay, then that would trickle into, even better playoff or even better Super Bowl odds for Minnesota. So I'm pretty into the Viking stuff right now, trying to get ahead of. I think that it's going to come up. I think that this, Jefferson at the 1-2 turn is going to become more of like a staple, in my opinion.
That's interesting. Yeah, what happens when Minnesota wins next week? Chris asks.
Yeah, I mean, you're still pretty clear to advance. You can't even get like enough pieces on DraftKings to fully fill out Baltimore and Minnesota. But if Minnesota wins, then you're still in a fine spot. I mean, you can play this as a
not if you don't take another quarterback.
No, I'm saying you can play it as a Minnesota bye still and do, you can easily tack on the Commanders and get a couple really strong advance rate pieces at the end. And we did talk about this before, but I think that the way to play the ambiguity between Detroit and Minnesota for the bye is building more teams like Minnesota gets the bye, not so much building teams like Detroit doesn't get the bye.
Right.
And that's it's amplified on DraftKings more than Underdog. On Underdog, I think that you could potentially mix in some where you say that Detroit doesn't get the bye and you build some one quarterback teams there. But yeah, so this is super easy. Mark Andrews, Aaron Jones. And then now what you're praying for is Jordan Addison to make it all the way back to you.
Yep.
You also, for whatever reason, Jameson Williams has fallen a good bit on DraftKings today. Like I've gotten some Jameson Williams in the 5th. And so there are times where you then get a random Jameson Williams that falls to you here. And then that's a little bit of insulation from Vikings bye. Then you're like, all right, well, one of my Vikings or Detroit teams is not going to get the bye.
So this guy's got Barkley, Puka, Laporta, Kelsey. It's an interesting. Puka is strange to me there, but he's trying to advance some bye week guys. With some advance.
I'm not sure there's that much thought going into someone taking Puka at the 2-2.
He's trying to do something.
He's trying to do something. Let him cook.
Is he trying to spell something? It's always fun to see.
Gibbs just had a nice run here.
Okay.
I think that. No, it didn't. You're still. Oh, because the Kittle guy.
The Kittle guy
passed you on head sticks. Yeah.
Yeah, so we need Gibbs to jump a lot. We need a Gibbs TD for sure.
Yeah. I think the first payout jump is like 12th maybe in the good direction. There's lots of payout jumps in the bad direction. Realistically, I'm much more sweating the showdown eventually for whatever happens there.
Yeah, there goes Addison, which is fine. Like, it's nice when you get Addison back here, but it's certainly not the end of the world.
Now, the Sidekick was interested in Kelsey there, and it's still interested in Chiefs. Thoughts on that as kind of a secondary AFC team?
Yeah, I think that people do that far less often than it's optimal. Like building the AFC bye team when you have a non-AFC bye team that you're playing as your Super Bowl, like your primary Super Bowl. We definitely could play it as
so Vikings, Packers, Eagles, and then try to get that AFC bye team on there.
Yeah, but we definitely could play it as Vikings and Chiefs. It's a little less attractive now that Worthy is gone.
And then my God goes, God damn it.
Okay, so the good news is that we can pretty easily go into Packers here. So from this spot, I just take Nico, and then I'm going to plan on Mixon, and then I'm going to take Jordan Love with the. So yeah, I think you just go Nico Mixon here.
So once we take Nico, and Mixon jumps to the top of the Sidekick here.
Yeah,
you can see. very nicely keeps track of that. Oh, you've been drafting Texans. Let's get you on the Texans.
Yeah, and so now we have a couple outs. They're like, again, not our favorite path to play, but you can go Packers now, which is really only a minor downgrade from Vikings. And then our worst case scenario is that we end up going Texans.
Right. That was smart to get us on the Texans that way. We're not playing it through Stroud ideally, but we now very easily could.
You know what's awesome is the whole draft cycle. We've been talking about how overpriced the Texans were and what bad picks they were. They've finally fallen a bunch, and people still don't want to click them. Like I've been getting like on Underdog, you can sometimes get like 6, 7, or even 7, 8 Texans, like the premium 2 with Nico and Mixon. It's like, okay, and same thing with Pickens, with the Steelers, and we're definitely. I've been taking very few Steelers lately, but again, if you're going to give it to me in like the 9th or 10th round, and it's especially like if it's a team that's got bye week players and needs some help round 1, I think that's still a pretty good pick. But yeah, so I'm finally getting some of my Texans exposure here now. They've gotten cheap.
So, not to pick on this drafter, but this is a thing we see pretty commonly. I saw Justin Herzig was tweeting about how, this game in some ways is like one of the more like solved versions of best ball, but it's also one of the most profitable because you see people drafting really wonky teams. This has 5 NFC pieces on it, right? From different teams: Eagles, Rams, Lions, Vikings, Bucks. Just a very quick little rundown on why that's not good.
Yeah, I mean, you're guaranteed to be taking multiple zeros as soon as week 2, right? Like when you get into the second round of the playoffs, not all of those teams can still be playing. You're guaranteeing that you will have multiple zeros in your lineup, which is not good. You do want to score fantasy points still in this format, so a guaranteed 0 is quite bad.
Yeah, and that's where now we're the 6, so we're not doing a great job of taking advantage of that.
Oh, Jordan Love goes.
Getting sniped. Yeah, that's why. That's if you heard tilt to my voice, it was because Jordan Love just went. But the room. There's going to be teams in this room that are going to be stronger. But honestly, the biggest beneficiaries are whoever plays this type of team in round 2 and 3, if it does make it. So you're hoping to get those teams through. What are you thinking?
So Terry McLaurin's gone, so I don't really love doing the Jaden Daniels thing. I think we probably are supposed to play it through Stroud.
Yeah, I do too.
So yeah, I would just do Stroud here.
And what, like likely?
No, not likely here because you're going to be fine on. Yeah, it's probably Cup.
Jameson just scored again.
Incorrect.
Yeah, probably Cup.
Yeah, so you just take Cup here, and then you're just going to hammer Texans all the way down now. You're going to do stuff like Dalton Schultz. There he pops up. Yeah, Dalton Schultz, Jalen Naylor, Deontay Johnson are probably your best bets. I mean, I think that's pretty much that's the way you're going to have to do it. Yeah, pretty brutal rooms back to back here.
Yeah, we're gonna do another DK because I'm not ending the DK portion of the stream like this. It's brutal. Just six. Like I do prefer to be in the middle in these late night boards. You can
or you just eat it and take the quarterback in the second round, which is
yeah.
You just gotta take a little bit of humble pie this late at night and not get cute.
Right. We could have done Mahomes. We could have done Goff. We could have done Goff Amon-Ra. That would have been a nice.
Yeah, no, that's a very safe
start.
one. Yeah.
Zach had to show us his cool trick.
To be fair, it worked smashingly all day. I got a bunch of really cool Henry and Jefferson teams, but Yeah, it did not work in this room.
This is one of the interesting things about playoff basketball. Without any collusion or breaking any rules, isn't it actually better to draft in a room full of good drafters? It is, I think, sometimes easier to draft with good drafters because they're kind of like in your lanes. Now, what happens is when you're drafting with good drafters, they will smartly like get out of their what you think is their lane to take good pieces from teams that are going to advance and kind of like cut you off at the path on stuff. So it can still be frustrating, but the brutal, oh my God, why did this person do that picks don't tend to show up in those rooms. And those are probably the most tilting of all drafts. So it is a weird format where kind of just being able to say, okay, this guy's building a sharp team. I probably know where this person's going to go next with higher probability because that would be the smart thing to do. It can make it a little bit easier to plan out your picks. Yeah, I think we go Schultz. I mean, we're kind of out of Texans at that point, though. Like, I'm not loving Mechie.
Oh, you're not into Deontay Johnson?
Oh, I mean, can I be honest? No, I'm not.
I mean, I think if we are playing this as Texans go to the Super Bowl, which probably means Deontay Johnson is playing quite well.
That's not a bad point. What about Likely before we stoop that low?
I mean, it's okay. Do we really need the tight end firepower though? Don't we have Andrews?
Right, but we have 3 rounds.
Yeah,
Isn't
I mean,
Johnson going to be there in the last round?
Yeah, I mean,
is there anything else you're interested in?
Yeah, if you want to just start doing one-offs and you're like trying to make sure that you get your money back, you can go like a Brian Robinson instead. Because really, what you'd be doing is you're just going to fill out Texans bets. So like Brian Robinson's fine here.
Yeah, let's do Brian Robinson.
This is just like a throw up the middle fingers to the draft room because you guys took all the quarterbacks. And if you're going to draft multiple quarterbacks on teams that don't need them, then we're going to make sure that you do not advance out of round 1.
And honestly, like, let's envision a world in which the Texans are making the Super Bowl. It's because their defense starts playing better, I think. So, like the Chiefs or something, I'm gonna need advance rate pieces a little bit. Deontay. So this is breaking news. Deontay says he's all about the team now.
Yeah, I did in fact see that.
Yeah, MacNova, this is why you're drafting Paul. MacNova, you had a really nice team last time, and I'm guessing if I pull up your team over here, it's going to look pretty good. Josh Allen, James Cook, Devontae Smith, Dalton Kincaid, Jordan Addison, Keon Coleman, Lad McConkey, Jalen Naylor.
Yeah, no, that's a great team.
Ty Johnson. That's a great team. Now, I appreciate, but come on. I can't handle it. I can't handle you drafting awesome teams in both these rooms. just draft more.
Yeah, all right. I do now see what Shady was saying about the 6 being quite painful on the late nights. It was going so well for me early today on DraftKings, so I was loving the 6.
Yeah. Wouldn't you rather have a wide receiver instead of Robinson there? You're probably getting a Henry Mixon or RB flex in round 1 either way. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there weren't a ton of good wide receivers there. Don't worry, we still can take one of, equal projectable points for round 1. Because scroll up on our team here. Because like our round 1 receivers are Nico, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp. We're pretty strong at receiver. We know we're going to take Deontay Johnson. I would prefer to take 2 Texans receivers here personally because like we're
Mechie or
Woods, either one's fine. I'm not going to divine the future of which of those guys catches a touchdown in the Super Bowl. That's what this is,
Chat. Tell us who you want. Mechie or Woods? Silence. Yeah.
That's put that shit on us.
The chat gets it.
Man, I'm looking pretty dead on this showdown slate. I nailed
Mechie. All right, we got a Mechie.
I nailed it though. I had Jamison Williams coming in as higher owned captain than Amon-Ra, so I slammed Amon-Ra, faded Jamison and captain. I was so right, and Jamison has scored 2 touchdowns already, so it really doesn't matter.
All right. Let's not be in the 6. How about that?
Surely we don't get the 6 hole this time.
That would be my preference.
Oh, the 2 is incredible.
Pearsall's having a game.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
I played a bunch of cowing. Season high snaps last week.
There you go. So 2, I think we're looking at Allen and Lamar, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's whichever of those we get.
I hate how long the delay between the lobby filling
Oh, I
and
know.
starting is on DraftKings. I can't tell you how many times
I
I'm like,
know.
okay, I've got time to go do a thing because it's 2 full fucking minutes. You're like, I don't know what to do.
Why do we like Lamar over Hurts now? Mostly because the market does for me, would be my answer, is that Lamar's now flipped him. And Lamar's the 3 seed. He's going to get a home game. Ravens look pretty strong right now. The Eagles also look strong. So I don't – if Hurts just went at the 102, I would be fine with that. But he's the Lamar's the 102 on both sites now. So it's more to me that the Ravens are looking really good. They've improved their odds and their path, and I don't want to fade them.
Yeah, I mean, we have the Ravens as higher Super Bowl or higher conference championship probability, which trickles into higher Super Bowl probability than the Eagles as well. You can see we have Ravens at 49%, Eagles at 31%. There's just a lot of the Ravens can end up playing much easier teams in the second round than the Eagles would play in the second round.
Yeah,
it's a big part of it.
Get Lamar in there.
We're gonna have a quarterback on this team. It's gonna be exciting. See what
I
it
know.
looks like after
Yeah.
doing that.
Mac Nova's not in this draft, so maybe we'll actually have a good draft. Mac Nova's just in another draft room right now, building another shipper. Shady, you're getting called out for ripping a naked Darnold. Care to defend yourself?
In the mitten 2 today. I was multi-tabling. Is the real answer. But my guess is that the other quarterbacks I needed were taken, and so that was top of the sidekick for some reason.
Yeah.
Oh man, we could run so good here. There's very logical picks that both these teams should make that would be really good for us. Okay.
We'll test the sidekick versus your brain here.
Oh, I mean, there's
Yes, Henry.
Giga slam dunk Derrick Henry. This is incredible.
And would you look at that? not that you'd expect anything else. All right, let's go. Derrick Henry. Beautiful.
Yeah, if Henry
that's a start.
If Henry had gone here, we would have had Flowers as the top guy, just to play it safe. But I'm open to doing stuff like Josh Jacobs there and trying to push Flowers around the turn. since you're pushing him into the Josh Allen drafter, who shouldn't have
Right.
a ton of interest in Flowers, but would have interest in Josh Jacobs.
So he goes Shakir and Aaron Jones. Do we want to go Flowers here?
Yeah, you just do Flowers here.
Yeah,
and then
that makes it really easy.
Yeah, you should be good on Andrews, and then if you don't get Andrews coming back, there's lots of
always likely later.
Well, there's likely later, and then your other like highest probability Super Bowl opponents. If Andrews is gone, there's a chance Laporta sneaks through to you, and you can just do that. If Laporta and Andrews are gone, then you can play it through Vikings and just say like, all right, I'll do Jordan Addison and T.J. Hawkinson then on this turn. So yeah, there's lots of, and then your worst case scenario is like a likely emergency, or you end up doing Tucker Kraft. So
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. The Pearsall catch is put our friend here just in first place in the war room.
Oh, that's good.
That's sick. Congrats, man. Let's hold it. Let's hold it.
I think I do have some Pearsall stuff going where he could jump me. I mean, I'm not going to ever jump very much. I might get a couple $1,000 more. That's an interesting team from the 6th spot. Oh man, the 5 spot's going to be in a world of hurt too. He's going to have to spend another spot on tight end, and he has no receivers yet, and also unlikely to have. Yeah, here's the
there
problem.
Goes Andrews. It's a bummer.
Yeah, that
Jacobs is back to us.
Yeah, Jacobs is. Yes, we win. We take Josh Jacobs.
That's a smash. That's crazy. Yeah. Okay. Great. All right, that's beautiful. And then I was going to say Bateman is actually pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, I'm into Bateman here. I think Worthy's actually okay here because we have a bunch. Like, look how strong our team is for round 1.
Mm-hmm.
Like, getting guaranteed points in round 2 is kind of cool. It's kind of like a little cheat code that you can have with Worthy. But I'm fine just doing Bateman here. But Worthy is a much better pick, I think, than people would realize.
It's too Worthy. We might get Bateman.
I don't think many people will do this either. Is the thing. So, like, you set yourself up for potential nice leverage situations where Worthy is the guy you need in round 2. Not a lot of Vikings or not a lot of Ravens teams will have them, and they're not going to play each other. So you can have them be your conference championship teams. And when I do stuff like that, I'm not going to like slam a bunch of Chiefs now. Like, if I get really good value on Pacheco later, maybe, or like I get really good value on Hopkins later. But outside of that, I'm not terribly interested in it. We do care immensely about Tucker Kraft, though, because we're likely going to do a Ravens and Packers Super Bowl thing.
Well, what about Likely?
Yeah, we just don't want Likely to be our only tight end. We're going to need tight end firepower. So Kraft is important as is Likely.
Mm-hmm. So let's see. Yesterday. Yeah, it was like I saw some Musgrave yesterday, but he only had 1 target. Kraft had 3.
Yeah, if you're going with, honestly, this could be the team to do it. But yeah, if you're playing as Packers as your primary NFC Super Bowl bet, I don't hate doing Musgrave. He's pretty much a DraftKings exclusive pick. Like, you wouldn't ever really take him on Underdog. It's just because there's a tight end slot here. But yeah,
this is Bateman.
Yeah, for me it's Bateman as well.
And then Likely, I think makes sense to get taken care of too.
Yeah, and where is Kraft? Did he go or something?
Kraft is a little lower.
Okay, he's there. Yeah, I think likely is pretty important to lock up. So I think we just do that.
Yeah, it's nice to have like Jacobs as a piece to help advance, but this gives us the 2 wide receivers, the tight end, the running back with the quarterback. So then it's like you could field a Ravens Super Bowl just with Ravens.
Right.
Worst case, obviously we would prefer Packers, but
yeah, I mean we could potentially like if David Montgomery and
yeah,
like you can do like a late David
Patrick,
Montgomery and Tim Patrick. No, he's still available.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, actually, I kind of like that. It's highest probability opponent of Green Bay in the conference championship as well. So
beautiful. All right, this is maybe an absurd question. All right, this is a good question. This may be an absurd question to ask, but are you only drafting players that are already locked in the playoffs, or would you take shots on guys like Burrow, Baker, Bijan? No, I think this is like one of the main things you're trying to figure out. It's a little risk tolerance, and then I think it's also a little bit of like figuring out where your edge is. And I think probably the biggest edge in this format is just building sharp teams. And so taking on the additional risk of like, I'm going to have a great year if the Bengals make the playoffs, but I'm not going to have such a great year if they don't, is not something I've been doing. At the same time, if you, in DK specifically, if you're trying to advance teams and you're like, I don't see how I advance this team, and you want to tackle on Bengals, I'm open to that. It's a little tough because if they don't make the playoffs, the team is completely dead. So you're potentially punting off your entry entirely. What are your thoughts? Oh, we should probably drop.
Patrick goes.
Patrick goes. That's painful. I mean, I'm still fine doing Montgomery and just having it be like one Lions piece, like Kraft Montgomery here would feel good to me.
Yeah. Sidekick's not into Montgomery. I'll just take Kraft. Probably raise Monty a little bit is what my guess is.
I did bump him up a little bit, but it's hard right now because there is a lot of ambiguity around his availability.
Yeah. So he's kind of be a little bit of an IKB type of thing.
It's just something that I don't think we want to have him ranked so high that everyone's clicking him all the time. I do think it's a thing where you need to opt into this risk because I think a good parallel is think about Mark Andrews last year when he was coming back from an injury for the Ravens in the playoffs, and they were like, "Oh yeah, Mark Andrews is going to be ready. He's going to be ready for the wild card round." And then Mark Andrews is back, and he's like very clearly not healthy, like hobbling all over the place, not getting anywhere close to even like half the snaps. So there's a good chance that Montgomery pick is just a 0 for us the whole way through. Even if the Lions make the Super Bowl, there's a chance Montgomery is just not right. It's definite. There has to be like some over enthusiasm and optimism coming from the Lions, but I mean I don't blame them for that. Like if I were running a football team, that's what I would say that too. Like, yeah, our guy's fighting to get back there. Like, you got to say that.
Yeah.
You can't be like, he's fucking dead. Like his leg's never going to be right again. There's no chance he plays in the Super Bowl, even if we make it.
Before we wrap, what about this question here? Who's your
no, don't do that.
Don't do it. You're not taking any Bengals here as like
nope.
Advance rate because they're such strong advance rate pieces. You don't see any.
There's other guys that go at the end of drafts that are free that are going to play with a lot higher probability. It's just like, what do you win when you win? And it's like, I win sometimes the Bengals score enough to advance me when they make the playoffs. And like, it's pretty low probability that they're going to actually make a run and even get to the conference championship game. Like, I love the Bengals offense, but that defense is atrocious. So like you're really only doing it as like round one advance, and even then like sometimes those guys just don't hit.
Yeah.
Like look here, like we could do Brian Robinson instead of Bengals if we were like in a position to do that. Right now, I think we just are doing Ravens and Packers. So it's like Christian Watson's a very solid
Yeah, Watson's a very solid pick.
But like, if you want to take teams that are fringy to make the playoffs, take the Broncos, who are like 50% to make the playoffs, and technically, I think the Broncos will come up a little bit, because I think the Chiefs are going to be sitting their starters. Right now, we've got them as 50%, but that's kind of like assuming the Chiefs are at full strength. So, I like Aguilar here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's
also be
Aguilar
like a one-off advance.
I don't think we need it. We're pretty strong round one. I would be like Aguilar, and then it's your choice of go to our draft board again really quick. I want to just check our team in a easier to. Okay, yeah. If we had one fewer running back, this is a pretty cool time to tack on like a Justice Hill, but he's gone, or Keaton Mitchell. I think Keaton Mitchell's actually a really good pick on DraftKings. He's like just starting to come on a little bit. I liked Khalif Raymond a good bit there, but unfortunately he goes. The other picks here, like I don't think Wicks is a terrible pick. It's not great, but again, we're in the last round. This also now we're to the spot where it's like all dart throw guys anyway. So it's like you can take your fourth running back in Keaton Mitchell if you want for additional like Ravens Super Bowl equity. You can take a random Packer like Dontavion Wicks, or this is a spot where if you wanted to just boost your advance rate, then I think we would be looking at wide receiver to help us. So if you just want to go to the wide receiver tab, and we can look at advance rate guys there, but there's nothing, like what are you gonna?
Nothing's here.
Like the Alameda Zacchaeus advance. So yeah, it's like guys that are going to project the same as our guy anyway. So Wicks is probably the best bet here. But yeah, I wouldn't be upset if you wanted to take Keaton Mitchell either.
Let's grab Wicks. All right, that was a nice little palate cleanser.
All right, you want me to switch over to underdog here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let me get my monitor set up right.
All right, same question, but forget the Bengals would be. I have teams with the Seahawks from earlier. To me, it was like when teams were bubbling up to be like,
the Seahawks
70% chance to make it.
The Seahawks.
So I was taking Bucks, and then I stopped taking Bucks, and now I'll take Bucks again. I wasn't taking Rams, and now I will take Rams, obviously.
Yep.
So there's like it really is. I think to me, it was about like when there was about a 70% chance that teams were making it, and I felt like the pieces were really strong, and they were all available late. That was kind of my line, but that was just feel.
Yeah, no, the Seahawks were fine. I'm not taking Seahawks anymore though. I'm not taking Falcons. I think that the Bucks are. I know that there is a chance that the Bucks lose and the Falcons win, but I'm playing it like the Bucks have it more or less locked up. So
yeah.
I have my screen sharing if you want to pull it up, and then I can zoom in here a little bit.
Thoughts on this question? When do you guys IKB the sidekick the most? I think one thing is like if you're thinking about how strong the pieces are that you have in like that particular round. Like if you're like, oh, I'm really strong, so I'm actually going to start playing like I'm not like I don't need to advance this team as much. Or yes, I technically have a running back, but it's Ty Johnson, and I really need to find a running back who's going to score points in round one. That's like probably the biggest place I might get being at.
Mine is
Yeah.
just to try to push something and get greedy. So it's going to always try to take the safe thing to make you not drop the baby. But sometimes you're in a room where it feels like they're going to play smart and stay in their lane so you can do it. It's one of the reasons why I also don't do as much multi-tabling for playoff stuff, because if you want to get those good teams and you have a good room, it's a lot easier to sort of figure out where they're going to go and get what you want pushed around the corners.
Yeah, I agree. I typically am only multi-tabling 2 at a time, which is very different than what I was doing in regular best ball this summer. 2 at a time does make it slow to get volume in. So if you're trying to like slam, oh my gosh. All right. I know that you guys would probably say Josh Allen, but the sidekick says Lamar. And I agree with the sidekick. I just don't think the Bills are very good. I know that you and I disagree.
Oh, are you sharing a screen? Okay.
Oh, I am. Yes.
No, I think Josh Allen for me.
Well, I'm trusting the sidekick doing Lamar here. I have a lot of Josh Allen. I was hitting him pretty hard. And I'm light on Lamar, and I don't like that. If you made me bet straight up who I thought was the most likely team to go to the Super Bowl between those two, I'd be taking the Ravens. So
Why?
I think the Ravens are a much more complete team than the Bills. I think the Bills are a one-player team. It's the Buffalo Josh Allens, and that guy happens to have a broken hand right now. So I don't love that. It's not his throwing hand, granted, but I don't know if you've been watching every snap of theirs. But prior to him, prior to this week, he was like consistently like shaking the hand out, having trainers look at it, and then now he's wearing just like a full-on like gauntlet. Like he has like a suit of armor on his broken hand, which I don't know has been reported that it's broken. But
is it like plate armor or chainmail?
No, it's like plate armor. Yeah,
that is bad.
No, and I mean, like, to be fair to him, he still threw the ball real well this week against the Jets, who have a pretty good passing defense. And like, I'm not saying anything bad about Josh Allen. Like, I think Josh Allen is obviously incredible. I just think the team around him is way worse than the team around Lamar. And I do think that the Ravens are like getting hot at the right time. They have some key pieces on defense that are getting healthier or coming back. So I'm pretty into the Ravens. The other thing is too, getting Josh Allen at 2 doesn't really do anything extra for me. Like I don't get access to something that I wouldn't normally have at the 1 with Josh Allen. So it's not like I'm getting some combo that is now special or anything. I think we're just going to do Josh Jacobs here and push Zay Flowers because we have no Derrick Henry. And so we need to be taking teams where we can have like the primary running back, ideally. Although A.J. Brown is kind of interesting.
I think I'm Zay if I'm going to go away from Jacobs and play for either Jacobs or Aaron Jones.
Yeah, I think it is Jacobs there, I think.
Which I'm fine with. I think Brown's sort of a trap because you're getting, it's like, give me Zay or give me a running back.
Yeah. The nice thing about A.J. Brown here is that you then open yourself up to all of my favorite like late round running back clicks for playoff best ball. Like you're taking Justice Hill, you're taking Kenny Gainwell. And it's like people's brains just stop thinking about the fact that contingent upside still exists if a guy were to get injured. Like David Montgomery just got injured and is now out, and we're like, no, injuries couldn't possibly happen to Saquon Barkley. Injury couldn't possibly happen to Derrick Henry. Like those are the kinds of things that when they happen, all of a sudden the slate is fully flipped on its head. And if you're sitting there with the Lamar Jackson, Kenny Gainwell, or Justice Hill team, If those contingent upside scenarios do get realized, that's a pretty strong build. And you're still able to do stuff like, let me take a Brian Robinson or a J.K. Dobbins later to help me advance. So I try not to. I don't want every single Lamar team, especially when I get presented with an opportunity for A.J. Brown. I don't want every single Lamar team to just go into Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones, because I think that's a way to get overly concentrated on a specific outcome.
That makes sense.
But yeah, part of the reason why A.J. Brown is so low there in the sidekick was because Jalen Hurts and Saquon are already off the board. So it's like, yeah, dude, if you take A.J. Brown, there's really not a lot more you can do that are good players on this team, because the Eagles do get thin pretty quickly. And, like, you're not going to take Devonta. You're going to take Zay Flowers next. So really, like, your only Eagles are probably going to be A.J. Brown and Kenny Gainwell. So it does start to box you into a corner. Your optionality is much lower if you go A.J. Brown. But I'm willing to navigate some of those tricky spots sometimes. And so that would be like an IKB that I will occasionally do, knowing that the draft will become much harder then. Like, I acknowledge the draft will be harder. I might get into a circumstance where my team is really bad now. But I'm willing to do that sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a couple good paths here. This is the nice thing about taking Jacobs, is you're guaranteed to get a bunch of Packers late because no one wants to take them. Oh, the Mark Andrews coming off the board here to this absolute genius for the 3-hole. Well, we could do Puka Kyron, because I think we should be safe to get Bateman back.
Okay. And then what are we doing, like Justice Hill?
Yeah, we'll definitely do. Okay.
Kyron goes. Bateman is great.
Yeah, it's just probably Bateman here because I don't trust the guy after us to not screw me again. But yeah, we're definitely Justice Hill in this team. Also, if Justice Hill goes, I'm not sad about drafting Keaton Mitchell. And then we're probably going to have minimum 2 Packers receivers, potentially more. Since we don't have Mark Andrews, we're like almost certainly taking Isaiah Likely on this team. You get to lean into the Mark Andrews contingent, or the Isaiah Likely contingent upside stuff as well here. And even just standalone, Likely is a very good. I'm still certainly taking Likely on teams with Andrews. But.
Nice.
So let's see. As far as advancing out of round 1 here, this guy's going to have a really hard time. This guy is also going to have a tough time. This guy is probably our strongest competition. And then this guy's going to have a little bit of a hard time, it looks like, too. So our round 1 advance equities looking pretty good. I would certainly have us above neutral there.
It depends how he finishes the team, but the 1 hole could be pretty good. A.J. Brown, Kyron, Barkley.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad team, but right now it's going to be a little harder to advance potentially.
I think if he gets a couple strong advance rate pieces to close, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't trust this room to let him have that. Like this guy looks like a guy that would just start clicking the play.
This guy looks like a guy. All right. So what are we looking at?
Oh no, just kidding. He's chosen to not advance his team. That's good. Justice Hill's pretty good here.
Justice Hill's the piece we absolutely need.
Yeah.
So lean towards him.
And it's not like there's really not. This is the one, like, playoff best ball brain trap that I think it's easy to fall into when you're like, but I can push him. I can get Justice Hill later. It's like, it doesn't matter, dude. Like all the stuff you're gonna get, you can get later.
Yeah,
like,
I try to think of what would ruin the team. Which guy, when I don't get them, am I like, this was a wasted 10 minutes. Then I take that guy. Cooper Kupp I like here, yeah.
Yeah, I think we just do Kupp, and then we'll likely hit a bunch of, and then we'll do all the Packers, and then it's one of these guys. The problem with Lad...
Are you able to zoom in a little bit, Sack?
Oh, yeah.
There's a question.
How's that?
Change. I think that's probably good.
Okay. Yeah, the problem with and Lad McConkey goes here, but the problem with McConkey is you can see here for these playoff probabilities, because of the seeding, the Chargers are less than 9% to face Baltimore in the conference championship. I'll pull up the exact one here for us. Take a look at that, but it is making it less ideal to take Chargers and Ravens on the same team.
All right, so
yeah, Chargers sub 5% to meet the Ravens in the conference championship. So
because of the way the bracket plays out,
because the way it shakes out most of the time. So you're ideally avoiding Chargers stuff on your Ravens team, which is, I mean, it's also not that bad to have to avoid it because the Ravens don't have a bye anyway, so you're not ever like down so bad that you need to take Dobbins and McConkey. But if you do find yourself in a spot where, say, you're doing like Ravens and you threw in a Chief or two, how likely goes Ravens and you threw in a bunch of Lions, then I don't hate doing the Commanders. What is going on here?
It's late, man. It's late.
I mean, I guess likely makes sense for this guy. Yeah, this guy went into Packers here after taking Gibbs and Laporta, though. Like, I don't take Laporta there, though. Taking Gibbs is fine. All right, so I think we're just going to do Watson and then Pickens.
You want to do Pickens first by ADP?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Question here. Thoughts on taking Barkley, Henry, and Jefferson round 1, and then building a 2 seeds Super Bowl with Chiefs Vikings. Barkley, Henry, Jefferson, or Barkley or Henry, and then Jefferson. But then you build out the Chiefs. With both not having round 1 running backs, I find it works nice for advancement. Thoughts on that? So there's a Chiefs Vikings with a Barkley or Henry advance rate running back.
Since we didn't get any Packers receivers, I think I'm just going to play this as a really heavy Ravens. I don't care to take a Tucker Kraft. We probably should have done Watson over Pickens here because Pickens doesn't really matter for us. We're strong to advance anyway. It's just like a nice luxury piece. I'd normally...
Yeah, it was a bad call. Bad call by me.
I don't know why this guy took Watson. 1, 2, 3, 4 different AFC teams. I mean, like, he's killed himself. He will not make the Super Bowl. Like, it is almost assured because he will run into teams of mine that will have all 10 players in the second round with this same Mahomes, Barkley, AJ Brown stuff. So
I'm gonna grab water. I'll be right back.
Because like he had a really good team and then he just killed it. Because now he's guaranteeing multiple zeros in later rounds.
Yeah, and this would be one of those things we talked about before. It's like he's now safer to advance at around 1, but much less likely to advance at around 2 and round 3. And
Well,
you don't get anything for advancing at around 1 really. You don't even get your money back, right?
Yeah, you lose money. You lose 20% or something.
You lose money.
Yeah, I mean, he had ways he could have gone too and stayed in structure. Yeah, like he didn't need
thoughts on this question here.
Taking Barkley, Henry, and having Jefferson, building 2 1-seed Super Bowl Chiefs Vikings. Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine. Yeah, that's totally fine.
I think that I don't mind the idea because it's like I don't believe in Pacheco or Hunt, and I don't want to spend a ton on Jones, or maybe I'll get him later. You certainly could get Jones on the next turn, so
yeah, no, that's fine. With yeah, the nice thing is the Chiefs don't have anyone that goes in round 1, so you can play it really flexibly. And I think that's probably even better on DraftKings late at night, where you're not able to get like you push a bunch of stuff. That's a really safe one, like easy to get. You can take, like, you don't even have to.
Well, we just did Henry Jefferson, and that blew up in our faces. So it's not
Well, I'm saying, like, you don't have to take the second one of those. You can literally just take Henry first, or even Jefferson first, and just take Mahomes in the second round if you're.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Because nothing says that you must have Derrick Henry and Justin Jefferson to advance out of round 1. Like, you're allowed to just one and go with it.
Right.
Right.
Thoughts on how to advance Lions Chiefs out of the bye? This is critical on DraftKings.
There's a ton of good options right now. I mean, I really like the Chargers. They're very underpriced currently, and I really like the Commanders. They're also pretty underpriced. So the McConkey, the primary receivers for those guys are appropriately priced, but the other pieces on those teams are underpriced. Granted, the teams themselves are kind of thin for fantasy pieces. It's really just like a 3-piece stack that you're doing for either of them. It's like the RB1, the wide receiver 1, and the QB. You do get tight end with the Commanders, which is important on DraftKings. But yeah, it's pretty easy now to get advanced rate pieces. And then when things get really blown up, and you just need to totally punt your structure, there's some good ones available late. Like, you can do a Jalen McMillan late, or you can do a Rashad White or Bucky Irving late. Mike Evans usually goes early, but those other guys will kind of languish around for a little bit.
How many Bills is too many?
The Bills are one of the few teams where, last year, we were 6 Chiefs, 7 Chiefs, who cares? Slam all the Chiefs. All right. I think I'm gonna do my thing here. I sure could do Jared Goff, Amon-Ra, but I wanna try and make it work.
I didn't know how much you love the Ravens.
I've been getting so much. I've been getting so much Gibbs, Amon-Ra, Goff that I'm less excited about, and I have a ton of Goff, Amon-Ra from earlier in the tournament. Mm-hmm. So it just doesn't make it move for me. So
what were the Bills question?
Oh, the Bills are the one team where it's not that there's a number that's too many. It's just that I will defer to taking players on my other Super Bowl teams before I'm taking Bills. I always will push Khalil Shakir. He's the one I'm most excited to get. I'm also pretty excited to get Keon Coleman at cost. Keon Coleman falls a lot, and so he's one I'll probably end up being overweight on. I guess my thing is I don't want to just jam 7 Bills and then at the end of the draft be shoot, let me take a couple guys to advance that are going to be on crappier teams. I'd much rather get the better teams and then at the end of the draft be Mac Hollins, Curtis Samuel, Dawson Knox, sure, because those could definitely be the 3 highest scoring skill position players, you know.
Yeah, and I think especially on DraftKings, I had a team where I did like Josh Allen, Josh Jacobs, I think Justin Jefferson,
Yeah,
and then I
that's
built out yeah, and then I built like that stuff, and then I think I maybe even pivoted to like Nico Collins or something, and then and only then did I go, okay, it's time for I think I got Amari and Keon, Dawson Knox, Ty Johnson, and like one, and probably Mac Hollins. I'm like, there's my Bills. They don't play the Packers or Vikings. It's thin, but like it's gonna be hard to advance. I mean, the Bills are like, if you spend a lot of your early round draft capital on Bills skill players, even though they don't have a bye, they're still gonna be difficult to advance because they just don't like score that many points. They're so spread out. So getting Bills to the Super Bowl might be harder than it kind of should be.
yeah, and I think that the well-constructed Bills teams will have a hard time getting to the Super Bowl too. You'll probably, in a lot of Bills Super Bowls, you'll end up with like really dumb teams where it's like they can't even field a full roster. It's like Josh Allen and a bunch of one-offs from people not really knowing what they're doing.
Right.
So this has Kelsey as top guy here, but we're just not going to get Andrews and Aaron Jones back. Oh, we're not even going to get Aaron Jones a little bit. That's fine, though. Aaron Jones is one that I'm okay missing out on here. I might just do Andrews Addison. I mean, it's definitely Andrews.
What about Jacobs?
We also can do Jacobs, and then we have an additional out just in case this guy messes with us.
I think we do that.
It looks like Jacobs is just plummeting today.
People think the Packers will never score another point. I don't know if you heard Shady, but they lost to the Vikings by 2, and they didn't pass for that many yards against the best defense in the league, and so.
I think it's probably more the seeding is probably what people are nervous about. Is that they're probably going to go to eat they're playing Philly and Philly now, most likely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, sure, it's not great, but I don't think it's the death knell that the market is attributing to them.
So I mean, they would have played what? They would have gone to the Rams. I think that's a reason to downgrade them at least a little.
Yeah, just not anywhere close to as much as the market's downgrading them, though. Like.
I think Jacobs specifically, like, he's such a strong round 1 play, and then if they win, it's going to be because of him. Like, if they go into to Philly, like, especially if they beat Philly, Philly's going to run, they're going to run. Like, who's going to have a good game and a win? It's Josh Jacobs. I think maybe like Christian Watson, Reed, those guys maybe should come down. Jordan Love.
They can't go any later. They're all last round picks.
Yes, you're right. Although we've been sniped on Love tonight, and I'm specifically talking to the guy who did that. Don't do that.
I have not been sniped on Love like ever today. I've been getting Love in like the 8th and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the late night drafts are not. They are not the business for playoff basketball. You wanna have a have a nice early morning draft before you start work. Like here, I think I'm probably just going to go Bateman, and then this guy takes Darnold. I think we just go Bateman Love here, just to not get blown up.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then we can throw on a Packer, or not a Packer. We can throw on a Chief later as well. Since we have Jacobs, we're good to play into some Chief stuff if we want it. It'd have to be like Hollywood and Pacheco if they come back, but I'm pretty into it.
Is that Allen Robinson? They just caught a pass? We're gonna have to draft him?
I've got him in
I'm
showdown.
in the sidekick, man.
I think he is in the sidekick. I think he's a 1.
No. Shut it down.
I literally stopped watching the game because I was pretty sure I was stone dead, but
It's not looking good in any of the
I'll
sweats.
still hold him 5th.
Nice.
that's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's got to be running. Laporta hasn't done anything, right? He's running about as pure as he can run.
Yeah, Laporte. So he's got a guy 6 points behind him with Jamison Williams. He also has Goff, but Baker, so that dude's not gonna. Goff won't matter. Yeah, the Laporta teams are pretty far back. The guy right behind him has him? Yeah, the guy right behind him has him, but he has Schultz at 4.1. So,
Yeah. So yeah, I think when we were doing the math last night, he needed Laporta to stay under like 9 or something. I can't remember what it was, but
well, Laporta does not look so good, and hopefully he continues not to score. McLovin's kind of running away with this.
oh yeah, I was just looking at how it was shaking out.
Dude, he had Burrow and Baker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
When we were looking at Dvorak's team last night, he's basically got a long iron condor.
No, Laporta just scored a touchdown.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yikes.
That's probably right in the middle of the iron condor for him, for all the options traders out there watching us. Yeah, now he needs Laporta to nuke.
Also not Gibbs. If we're counting things that are Gibbs and not Gibbs for tonight's show.
It is not Gibbs.
So I think here we just need to do.
Oh, Chris Carlton points out it's third in BBM. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I knew he had a sweat. I forget what he needed. I think we just do Dobbs and Watson here.
Okay.
We just can't risk not getting more Packers players. So
Yeah, sorry for talking about Laporta. Right as he scores a touchdown. Seems regrettable in retrospect.
yeah, so here we can just. Like Tucker Kraft is okay here. Pickens is okay. These guys are all okay. Ladd is okay. It's late enough now that Ladd just projects well enough that it's like whatever. If you can't take him to the conference championship, it really doesn't matter. None of these guys are going to the conference championship anyway. So,
Yep.
Let's see. Paul definitely needs a running back here. Yeah, I don't love that that's your fourth NFC team, Paul. When you like this Jaden Reed piece probably shouldn't happen. You probably like desperately want this to be Terry McLaurin to open up Brian Robinson. Since you're going Lions, you don't really care that this is Jaden Reed. All Jaden Reed does is like guarantee you zeros in later rounds. Because now you're having to take Bucky Irving. You could also.
That's fair. He did not specify non-derogatory though.
I think that where did Evans go in this one? I think he went.
Zach doing all the drafting, Pat making a bunch of bad picks, Shady trying to stay awake. Not all of my
Sounds like a
suggestions are
Monday.
bad. Thank you very much. But yeah,
I mean, to be fair to Pat, I did. I made us like totally get off the beaten path and just nuke our 6th seed or our 6th spot.
well, yeah, I'm alone for the ride on this thing. We've tried this once; it was a disaster, and now I'm making Sack prove that it works.
This one is not even like the
Co-signed by Vadim, so we're not. I'm not beating the allegations right now.
Yeah, like oh my god, like Mike Evans was there. Holy. Yeah, I mean, we don't need to go out of structure. We have no bye week players. So I think that what this is just I think we're just likely in Keaton Mitchell here. Because
so Mike Evans is like the advance rate piece of advance rate pieces, and would be a thing that most people new to this would slam. Why aren't we slamming him?
Because we probably don't need it. We're Derrick Henry, Justin Jefferson, Josh Jacobs, market. Like, I'd rather have the additional equity later on.
Yeah.
And
yeah. I think that's right, but like it is like it's probably the biggest shift in formats, right? You're like Mike Evans or Keaton Mitchell. Who do you want on a fantasy team?
Yeah, but yeah, like
and then you pick Keaton Mitchell.
Paul, just trade us. You take Mike Evans here, you're super happy. We take Jaden Reed, we're super happy. You get the better player, you're chilling. Oh my gosh. I didn't pay a ton of attention to the 4 hole, but this is awesome. It's a 2 of 5 advance room.
I hope to meet them in the second week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too.
I look forward to seeing them in my other pods.
I mean, if this guy gets to the second week, it's I guess he's Terry McLaurin, Saquon
he's fine for the first week.
Brown,
Yeah,
Jaden Daniels.
He's pretty strong.
Yeah, he's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he's pretty heavily relying on. He really needs one of these 3 guys to.
Dude, Pearsall's going nuts.
What? How many fantasy points does he have now?
He just caught a long pass.
He was so chalky on the showdown slate. It was quite unfortunate. I wanted to play him, but he is coming in really chalky. Should I fire up another one here? We have.
Yeah, let's do one more before we get out of here. Yeah.
Well, I'm behind enough that I'm just seeing the Pearsall catch now, and yeah, that was pretty good.
I thought it was Kittle the way he was running. He looked like a little mini Kittle, and then Kittle got a nice pass after.
Well, I am surely losing all of my money on Showdown. I don't even need to look.
So Fast Farts is apparently leading BBM and has Pearsall.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, how – I mean, go ahead and take your victory lap on Pearsall, Pat. How you were so high on Pearsall all off season. And Ricky Pearsall being the guy you need is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. I was high on Pearsall, and then it was like Jawan Jennings was actually the guy you really wanted, but yeah, it turns out Pearsall was a good pick after all. I would say like a weakness of my entire 2024 was like an over. Actually, it was probably overly focused on week 17 this year. I think I finally found like the spot where like next year I think I'm going to be trying to make sure I have the hit on the Chuba, get me the Chuba, and then I'm just not going to stop taking shots at finding the Pearsall type hits that only hit in 1 week. But But yeah, a little more like the not just advance rate, but like dudes who are solidly putting up points in week 15, 16. Maybe not as like clear cut back half of the season plays though.
This could be quite a fun spot if this guy does Amon-Ra Goff.
But it is fun to see Pearsall doing something. It's a long season, right? It's a long season.
It is. Weird stuff happens.
Weird stuff happens. Man, this is a freaking shootout.
Ah, darn, he takes Henry here. Well, we still should have a nice, solid Eagles team, unless he takes A.J. Brown. No, he's clearly a stream watcher. He heard the Derrick Henry, Justin Jefferson strat.
How pissed are you going to be if he pulls it off?
Dude, I was drafting bangers with that start all day. I was getting like literally every Viking, every Raven that I wanted.
That was honestly, I did some stuff early on when you could get Henry, Lamar, and then at that time you would take Henry first, and then I would get all the Vikings like much later.
Yes.
So I don't know if it's in the gauntlet though. It was probably in a time box like mitten or something.
I think I have some of those in the gauntlet. I'm counting on them not being that many. The gauntlet is really not. It was kind of slow to fill. So I'm not overly concerned about the fact that those combos exist out there. This guy definitely wants Ravens. I think I'm pretty into the idea of Ravens Chiefs here. And I don't think I care about these guys because there's other good running backs I'm happy to take later. Although if I do Ravens and I really should just pick one here, actually.
I think Kelsey.
Yeah, I think so too. Because if I take the Ravens, it starts to close me out of a team that I need later with the way that I'm thinking about this. Which I know the sidekick had built in, which is why it was telling me to take Kelsey over Andrews there. But
yeah, what do you think about that, AZ Mountain Man? Zach agreed with my pick.
I mean, now Andrews is still sitting here, though.
Yeah.
So here's the problem. We're out of Eagles pass catchers, basically. There's just Dallas Goedert. So we need stuff with pass catchers.
Mm-hmm. We could go Hollywood or Pacheco and get the build out that.
We'll be fine. We're going to get enough Chiefs pass catchers. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
We just need pass catchers in general is our – and so –
Right. That makes sense.
Like having Andrews Bateman because I know that I need like shitty punt running backs too. And so opening Justice Hill is also nice. So now I'm like Justice Hill, Kareem Hunt. This is probably a 4 running back build. It's like Justice Hill, Kenny Gainwell, Kareem Hunt, and then some round 1 advance rate guy who is the running back that I plan on dying. Which if you've read my playoff best ball article, there's a spot in there where I talk about going 4 running backs, which is normally not a structure that you do, but when you do it, it's because you plan on one of those running backs dying early. And the way that I want that to happen then is I want that running back to be the one that's going to score me points in the round where raw points matters the most, which is the first round. And then later I've got guys who are alive and scoring something in the rounds where just scoring greater than 0 becomes progressively more and more important. So,
yep.
Yeah, I think.
Why not Pacheco?
I don't need to take Pacheco here, and he's not going to play round 1. I'd rather just get this Bateman Goddard thing to help me with my pass catchers round 1, and I'm just going to take a bunch of running backs later.
Yeah, my argument for Pacheco with one of these 2 picks, because you could also go Hunt if he goes, but I guess you push Hunt, but the argument for Pacheco would be it's a Super Bowl. We're betting on Kelsey to go to the Super Bowl with a running back who actually probably scores some points. Goddard's not.
I don't think there's a difference between Pacheco and Hunt though. Like they've been splitting.
There isn't right now, but if one of them were to be,
it would be Pacheco.
I think it's still Pacheco. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and so now it's just all these running backs. Like Brian Robinson's fine, Bucky Irving's fine. So leaving open our second NFC team really helps us out here because we can get these high advance rate or good round one projectable running backs here.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about McLaurin here.
To be clear, it might seem like I just had some bad ideas for picks there, but I was just like talking stuff out,
No, I don't think they're bad ideas. Because here's the tricky thing too. When we go Kelsey and we're looking at limited Eagles, we have to take Goddard really here because we lose Hollywood Brown here. So a Casey running back is like, yes, we're gonna need one, right, to make this team live for the Super Bowl, or we can rely on Gainwell. But you run out of roster spots because we've gone both Ravens and Chiefs, and we'd like for both of them to be live in the Super Bowl for us. So like Goddard's really important here to have that second Eagle.
Yeah,
you're out of Eagles, Otherwise, you're in the last round, and your best pick is Jahan Dotson. Which like no one wants to be there. Losing Justice Hill is quite bad for us. Pacheco going is not great for us, but I'm not quite as sad. So we're going to have the very, very ugly running back room.
We need Gainwell pretty bad now.
Yeah, we have Mixon bubbled up because
Mixon's
the sidekick is saying, I don't care if I lose you round one. We're going to lose a running back round one anyway.
Yeah, Mixon we definitely want.
This guy has Nico as well. The other option is Brian Robinson, who's within structure. So it's just like, how much better do we think Mixon is as a round one advance rate piece compared to Brian Robinson?
I think decently better.
I think so too. And so I think we do Mixon here, and then we have to hit Gainwell.
Yeah, we have to get Gainwell.
And we technically don't need Hunt because we took Goddard. If we don't take Goddard, then we're like compelled to take Hunt. And we then are compelled to be playing Goddard or Gainwell and Hunt in our Super Bowl lineup, which is pretty thin for me. That's like thinner than I'd want it to be for a Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl. Like I can still tell myself a story where this isn't that crazy, that these are the pieces that you need that are optimal.
Drafting so many teams, do you ever dupe yourself? You kind of. Oh, let's make this pick first. Oh, Gainwell, yeah.
That's Gainwell.
This is a format where like it's so chaotic and so hard to get teams through. And like last year, for example, you just needed to have like Jake Ferguson, who's not like a piece that you would have thought would be like the advance rate guy, but he scores 3 touchdowns. And so teams that are like very similar it makes like way more sense to have like teams that are overlapping yourself by like a lot more than we would want to in Best Ball Mania or something.
Yeah. You can have basically the same team that's fully duped, and one will advance and one will not. And because the total number of like viable teams is so much smaller in playoff best ball, I'm not concerned about duping myself here, where in almost any other format, I think it's not very good to dupe yourself. But here it is something that I am okay doing. The fact that Bucky Irving,
that point about there being fewer viable teams, I think is a really, really important one.
So bad news, guys. All the running backs that we were wanting to hit late, like this guy took 4 running backs with Saquon and Josh Jacobs. Don't know why he did that.
We're going to need P. Ryan on this team.
Yeah, it's really gross, but I think we do need P. Ryan. And then, we're just having to live and die by Joe Mixon here. And then I think it's just got to be Keaton Mitchell. We could do Hopkins too.
Yeah, Hopkins would be.
Yeah, Hopkins or Keaton. They're both fine here.
I think I like Hopkins.
Yeah,
Gainwell gets used at the goal line a little bit. Like I could see him.
You're probably dead in a Ravens Super Bowl. You're dead because you don't have Lamar or Henry.
Right.
So
right. You need to play for we just lost Hopkins, but
yeah, which is
we
fine.
could do Noah Gray.
I think Gainwell's better here. I want the Ravens Super Bowl to be live for me, like live.
Okay.
Not like I'm gonna finish 17th. Yeah. Because Keaton Mitchell, like again, contingent upside, and also like you don't even really. It's not mandatory that Henry gets injured for Keaton Mitchell to be good for you. You know, like you can get a long Keaton Mitchell touchdown that takes away a touchdown Henry would have gotten otherwise in that Super Bowl. You know.
Yeah.
So it's a gross one, but
feels like it's easy to draw dead due to lack of running backs in this format. I think this is a format where you're like kind of punting off teams at some rate. Like this
one honestly, like there should have been plenty of running backs for us here, but like
right.
This makes no sense to take 4 running backs here. Like you've already got your advance rate running back with Jacobs and Barkley. Like you really don't need to do Bucky Irving here. He goes Baker, McMillan, Bucky, Evans, just fine. But then you have Jacobs and Barkley. Yeah, he would be so much better served with Bucky being George Pickens, which I know he got taken there. But like even Cooper Kupp over Bucky, like you need Mike Evans and Jalen McMillan to both have good enough scores to advance you from this guy's spot. And sometimes you're in a spot like that because you have 5 bye week players, which is, you know, it is what it is. But here he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 bye week players. Like you didn't need to make it this hard for yourself, but he did. He's guaranteed that one of these running backs he spent high capital on is not hitting his lineup in round 1.
Yeah.
So like a wide receiver here would do wonders for this team. Just like any wide receiver.
Yep.
This was totally fine to take Brian Robinson here. Like he should take Brian Robinson here. And then this guy definitely needed Justice Hill here.
Which sucked for us.
Yeah, it did suck for us. I mean, maybe I don't really think we can push Dallas Goedert though either. This Kareem Hunt. Oh yeah. Okay, so this is the other one that didn't make any sense. Like random Kareem Hunt with your Derrick Henry, Justin Jefferson. I mean, I guess it's okay.
The team asked about this guy. This I think was like 2 weeks ago that
yeah, I think he maxed. I think he had 150.
He maxed like a while ago because he like it was a course of a couple of days, I think. So
yeah, I think it was 2
go in there now.
It was 2 days that he was in there.
Just real quick before we sign off, because I think it's an interest, you know, or not saying exactly, but like it's helpful to kind of think through the reality of what it means to build teams that are live to win in this format. Like Sack, what are you expecting your advance rate to be?
Definitely below the like neutral, below 33%, because that's what I want to. Those are the teams I'm wanting to play for. I'm wanting to play for the teams that are most likely to make the Super Bowl, to be, you know, the teams that I'm drafting lots of, and those teams are the teams at the bye. You know, so it's just going to be hard to advance those teams. So, I mean, with 2 of 6 advance, you do get, you know, it's a little more forgiving. Like 1 of 6 is particularly brutal. On DraftKings, my advance rate is going to be pretty abysmal. Like if I have a 10% advance rate on DraftKings, it'll be awesome. I'll be really, really happy with that.
And neutral would be 16.7.
Yeah, 16.
Yeah.
2/3. So
yeah.
Yeah, you're going to have a lot of dead teams if you're playing to try and win the contest. And if you're not playing to try and take first, if you're playing to try and like minimize your losses, like all you're doing is slowly losing money to people. So it's not the way that I would recommend playing. There are situations like I do think that this year is one that sets up okay to go for a hard fade of the 1 seeds because the other strong teams I think have like very legitimate paths to the Super Bowl. So if you wanted to try and play a lower variance style, but it's understand that you're removing some floor and also removing some ceiling. Like that is what lower variance means. You're sacrificing some ceiling. But you could fade the Chiefs and you could fade whoever gets the bye between the Lions and the Vikings and go really hard on all those other strong teams and just go in on the Bills, go in on the Ravens and play super heavily through those teams. And I think that's viable. The first year that I ever played a lot of playoff best ball, I actually did fade the 1 seeds really heavily. I believe it was the Chiefs and Eagles Super Bowl where it was the double 1 seed. And I had a bunch of 49ers Bengals. But I did that because I thought the 49ers were really good. And I thought the Bengals were really good. And they made the conference championship. And that was the year where I reference this a lot, but I had teams that were guaranteed to make the finals in round 3 because I had everyone blocked. I had 10 live players and no one else in my pod could field a combination I couldn't cover. And so I made the gauntlet finals that year with a team that did not have enough Chiefs or Eagles to actually do anything. But
yeah,
I ended up making money. I was profitable that year, full fading the 2-1 seeds. So you can do it. I think it is pretty heavily slate dependent. I do think this slate sets up to be one where if you wanted to embrace that lower variance style, you could do it. But do understand that like lower variance doesn't just mean like you get rid of the bad stuff. It means you also get rid of the good stuff. Like especially on DraftKings, if the Lions get the bye, you could very, very well see a solo shipper on DraftKings, like solo first, 500K, easy game, and so I'm playing for a lot of that. Like I got a lot of Chiefs stuff where that would be really cool. Got a lot of Lions stuff where that would be really cool. Where I'm live for solo shippers, and that just comes with a lot of variance. You're going to lose a lot of money when it doesn't go well for you, and you're going to be losing money through the entire tournament, pretty much up until the finals, and then you're just praying that one gets through.
Yep. This is another important comment here. Advanced teams that year that scored a 0 in the Super Bowl, that is going to happen from people playing well. So like we talk a lot about like people aren't building the way we would build, and they're not thinking about the final so much as round 1 and all that, right? But this is a different point. You're going to build like Sack's talking about his teams. He had guys I'm guaranteed to make the final now because I have everyone in my pod blocked. However, only certain combinations of teams winning these games will I be live to actually win this tournament. We're going to have teams go nuts and then lose, and it's going to advance their teams, those playoff best ball teams around further, but then they won't have any live players. So that's where it started to click for me of like the importance of building teams that are live to score points in like round 3 and the final, because your competition is just like littered with teams that used to be good and now suck. And so like you're just scoring like 3 points at a running back spot, 3 points at a flex spot could easily be the difference. Like it could make a huge difference just having a Tim Patrick on your lineup. And it seems like, what's the point of having a Tim Patrick? That's the point. He separates you from AJ Brown, who was eliminated, right? He separates you from DeMonte Smith, who's no longer playing football. So that's like the big thing. I think it's not just that there's going to be dead teams because people aren't drafting for to win the tournament. There's going to be dead teams because of the chaos of how this format works.
There's a good question there that I think would be a a good last one before we sign off here. But the question about dupes, are dupes a thing? Do we need to think more showdown? So right now, playoff best ball, I don't think is mature enough as a game to where people should be like, I don't think that people are going to need to account for dupes as much right now as you would as the game evolves. But the spots I would say it's pretty important to be thinking about dupes are when you're playing for one team that does not have the bye or two teams that do not have the bye being your Super Bowl teams, then you will become more and more likely to be duped. And that's why we tack on those guys at the end of like, that's why I was saying, yeah, throw Nelson Aguilar on there, throw Keaton Mitchell on there, because the Ravens don't have the bye. So if the Ravens make the Super Bowl, if it's just the chalk Ravens that are the ones you need, it's going to be you and 50 of your closest friends that you win first place with. So I would much rather play for, hey, does Keaton Mitchell outscore, any of these other Ravens pieces and become the optimal flex very often? Nope. But when he does, I'm winning $500,000, instead of shopping for 30.
Yeah, and it's like you might need to outscore Bateman.
Right.
It's not that hard.
Yeah.
Bateman also is like dealt with injuries and like it could be outscoring like a 0 from Bateman. It's not really that crazy when you think about it.
The other thing is like last year, think about how many people were saying like, oh, something's broken with the playoff best ball tool. It keeps telling me to take Jawan Jennings. Like, why I'm taking so much Jawan Jennings? Why don't I just take like a player that's going to score more points? Like he's never going to hit my lineup. And then all of those Jawan Jennings teams were the ones that ended up shipping it because guys that are going to be on the field in the Super Bowl are insane picks. Like if you told me for certain, like, hey, it's the Ravens Packers in the Super Bowl, like, dude, I'm drafting Luke Musgrave. I'm drafting Emmanuel Wilson. Like it becomes a showdown slate. So the closer the less bye teams that you have in the Super Bowl, the more you should be playing it like showdown. But for right now, don't like worry too much about it. Just like kind of have that as your heuristic and you'll be okay. I think in the future we'll have some really cool stuff that we can do where we play it very much like showdown. But for right now, it's not necessary.
Yeah. Last year we had the Chiefs not get the bye and make the Super Bowl, and then the 49ers have the bye and make the Super Bowl, and it was a duped gauntlet. So, and in part, it was the way that last year's ADP shaped up where you could just get the whole Chiefs from the front half of the board with CMC. So it was like a pretty common approach, and that was one that our tool was like really recommending as well. So I think we contributed a little bit to the duping, but that's with one non-bye week team making it. So if two bye week teams make it, then it would be, it just reinforces the point that you made about, the bye week teams being much more less likely to deliver dupes. But as soon as you have a non-bye week team, as we saw last year, there can be kind of a train that forms. All right, let's get out of here. Not quite enough Gibbs tonight. Let me check in on Kyle. Kyle's in 6th right now for $75,000. Hopefully that holds. He's ahead by about just a little less than 5 points. Good luck to everyone. Liam actually just fell down from 11th to 19th on that touchdown, it looks like. Good luck to everybody. Hoping if you're in first, I hope you hold.
If not, I hope you climb.
If not, I hope you take first.
But not anyone else is in the chat. You can climb up to them.
Yes.
If you're in the chat, when we want the chat people to win. If you're not in the chat, you're on your own.
Yeah, you should have watched the stream.
See you guys later. We'll be back here later in the week for some more playoff best ball stuff. I'm also going to be doing some stuff with Davis Maddock over on his YouTube channel. You can check that out too. We'll see you around, and thanks for watching. Later. Oh, I should say before we close, Sidekick info is in the description. Check it out. All right, peace.